Welcome to episode 3 of 30 Minutes with Darius, founder and CEO of League Swipe. Good morning to you, brother.
Good morning, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm all right, man. We here. Another
Yeah.
beautiful Monday morning, and we here to talk all things fantasy, all things sports. What we got on the docket today, man? We talking what's happening in the fantasy sports world, man, that we need to that the people need to hear about and people need to know. What's going on?
Man, we just coming off one of the biggest weekends in football.
For sure.
The
For
playoffs.
sure.
So we got to start there, man. Them Cowboys let folks down again, man. Here we go. I'm sort of eager to watch
Stephen A.
Sports Center because I know they go
Yep.
flame my man Dak.
They are gonna
Uh,
flame Dak. Yep.
they gonna flame Dak, and
Yeah. So
I
I
at
only
this
caught
point,
the second half. What's your perspective on why Dallas couldn't get over the hump this year?
man, I'm trying to put my finger on it, man. It's hard. Um, it's hard to really figure out why. It's partly the play calling. I don't think that they were creative enough. I mean, they forced the ball to CD Lamb. I think Dak pressed a lot. He threw two bad interceptions. He almost threw a pick six that would have sealed the game for the 49ers at the end of the game. So there was a little. I mean, he didn't show up the way that they needed him to show up. Tony Pollard went out, and the offense seemed to just really stagnate. Um, I mean, he's the backup running back. He's integral to the offense, but that's when you need like your franchise quarterback to step up and take over the game and make plays. That's when you need your wide receiver one, CD Lamb, to go out and make plays. And he made a nice catch, but he just didn't make enough plays. But on the flip side of it, for San Francisco, they are down to their third string quarterback. They're down to Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft, leading their team.
Purdy was the last pick in the draft.
The very last pick
Oh
in
man,
last year's
talk about a
draft.
story. They got
Mr.
a quarterback problem on their hands now. San Francisco does. Garoppolo is on the obviously on his way out, but then you got Trey
Right.
Lance, and they got to figure out what they're gonna do because Purdy's been playing, and he's
Yeah,
been
I mean,
you know
Purdy's been definitely serviceable. I don't think Trey. I think Trey Lance will get every opportunity to be the number one in San Francisco next year.
oh for sure.
Cal Shanahan. I mean, Trey Lance just. I mean, his athleticism, his arm talent will allow him to continue to be San Francisco's QB1 going into training camp next year. Brock Purdy. I think what's most amazing is that San Francisco's offense, their scheme, allows for a Brock Purdy to come in and be successful. And I think that's what Dallas and other teams lack is when their talent goes down, like a Tony Pollard, when they lose talent, like Dallas did when they let Amari Cooper go and left CD Lamb to be the lone receiver on that roster. Uh, good offensive coordinators, good schemes, finds ways to win. And Kyle Shanahan is plug and play.
Yeah,
They let Jeff Wilson go. Their running back Elijah Mitchell steps up. Nobody knew who Elijah Mitchell was, a year and a half ago, but he steps in. They go out and make a big trade for Christian McCaffrey. It doesn't take Christian McCaffrey a week to get acclimated into that offense where he's like, looking like a superstar again in this league. So um, it's important, man, when you got good schemes, good coaches, that you keep them. And San Francisco is lucky. I think they got a good scheme. They got a good coaching staff, and they got a GM that knows to get the coaching staff the talent that they need to succeed, man, and put people in position to succeed. So it's
yeah,
going to be interesting next week.
it will
Philadelphia,
be.
San Francisco.
Yeah, I got
Uh,
Philly. I got Philly.
yeah. Healthy Jalen Hurts will
Yeah,
make a big
a big
difference.
difference, right? So I got Philly going in that one. Um, and then on the other side, I don't know, man. The Bengals. Um,
Yeah, the Bengals are giant slayers, man. I
yeah,
mean,
man.
that's another situation too. You got to watch with the Bills. I
Yeah,
think their window is closing.
for sure,
Um,
for sure.
and Josh Allen, great talent. I don't know. He took a step back, I think, at the latter the latter part of this season. Of course, I had him on a couple of my fantasy teams. I reached half of Josh Allen, and he got me some nice wins during the regular season, but
Mhm.
we couldn't pull it during the playoffs with him leading the way. He made some red zone mistakes down the stretch, and then yesterday they just couldn't find a way. I think they need to get a running back that they can rely on to get them, get the running back 25 touches a game. Josh Allen, all these design runs for him is not the way. And he just needs to start to protect the ball better. So I don't know. I think the Bills' window is closing. You got, Cincinnati isn't going anywhere. Um, and Joe Burrow, I mean, he's 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes, and if Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes comes back next week and is limited in his mobility
Yeah, because of that ankle, which they're
because
not
of
really
that
saying.
ankle,
Yeah.
I just don't see Kansas City winning that game. I mean,
Yeah.
Cincinnati is they're talented everywhere on offense. Running
Mhm.
back, they got you know three receivers that can go get the ball at any time. They got Hayden Hurst is a nice tight end. So and Joe Burrow is cool back there. He's not making any mistakes. So it's going to be hard to beat. It's going to be a good one, though. I do hope that Patrick Mahomes is healthy enough to play because I want to see a good game. I know Patrick Mahomes is chomping at the bit to finally get Burrow. I
Right.
mean, Burrow got him three times so far. He's the only person that's like owning him like that.
Yeah.
So
Got his
uh,
number. He
he
got his
got his
number, man.
number. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be good, man.
Yeah, these
It's
NFC
gonna
and
be
AFC championships are going to be really good, man. I'm interested. I'm actually pretty excited to see these two games or these four teams go at it, go head to head. So looking forward to it. So, um, th- who you got? Like, so make your calls. Who's going to the Super Bowl, and who you got winning?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Cincy and Philly. Um,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and I would have to go with Cincy just
Mm.
because they've been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've been there.
Yeah.
Um, it's so hard to get back, man. That's the only thing, man. When you look at the numbers and you look at
Mm-hmm.
history, it's just so hard to get back. So that's why part of me wants to go with Kansas City, just because I know that the percentages say that it's hard for you to get
Yeah.
back to the Super Bowl and win it, but I think Cincinnati is healthy and they're poised to win it. I think Philadelphia is probably more talented on both sides of the ball. Um, so it's good. I think it'll be a great game. I think it'll be a great game. But I'm just not betting against Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow beats um, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes to get to the championship, I think he'll find a way to beat Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia in the Super Bowl
Yeah. Not a
or
bad
Brock
call.
Purdy.
Right.
in
Right.
the
Right.
Super Bowl.
I'm going Philly. I mean, and for sure, our picks may change next week.
Right,
next
right.
week, but as of today, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with what I'd like to see. Right, I'd like to see Philly and KC go at it. Right,
Yeah.
and then ultimately, I'd like to see Philly win it.
Yeah.
See Jalen get it, but I'm a fan of Patrick too. Um, but I definitely would like to see, Jalen get his first. So it'd be nice.
I
So that's
would
my
too,
call.
man.
Yeah. So that's my
Yeah, I would
call
love to
until
see
next week.
Jalen. That's what you call it.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm
no, I would
calling
love to.
until next week.
I would love to see Jalen get it, man.
Yeah, yeah,
I've been like, I'm so happy for Jalen Hurts, man. When he was
yeah.
at Alabama and they benched him for Tua, um,
Right.
I mean, I had a fit. I was talking out when Tua got hurt. When Jalen stayed in Alabama, I told my buddies it was a big mistake, and I'm glad they changed the transfer protocol. I mean, I got my own views on the transfer protocol, but in that particular situation, I thought Jalen needed to get out of Alabama quickly, right, to get a chance to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Fortunately, he did eventually leave Alabama, but him staying even after they benched him for Tua was a big testament to his character. But and it saved Alabama when Tua got hurt in the playoffs, and they had to bring Jalen in, and he performed, and they were able to win and get to the national championship. Everybody was like, "That's what I'm talking about. This is why you know you got to have great character guys, and this is why the transfer protocol isn't necessary. You want people like a Jalen Hurts. He's the epitome of what college athletics and sportsmanship is about.
Oh, how
I'm like,
convenient.
man,
How
that's a bunch
convenient,
of
right?
yeah, it was so convenient, right? I'm like,
Right.
that's a bunch of crap. This dude wants
Yeah.
to go to the NFL and be an NFL quarterback, and y'all are preventing him from having that opportunity because he can't transfer. Like, so I'm so glad that he
Right,
was
right.
able to transfer, man, and have a in his college career successfully and get drafted and get the opportunity to start in the league. And even when he started last year, there was so many questions, and he came out this year and he performed. So
Yeah.
Jalen has just been shutting down naysayers his entire career. He's been bouncing back. So
Yep.
I'm rooting for the kid, man. I think he
Same
is.
here.
Yeah, I think he's like a laser focused guy. He loves to play the game. I think he's a great teammate based off what the rest of his teammates say, which is big because you got some starting quarterbacks who's making a ton of money, who teammates are, you know, throwing them under the bus in the offseason. So to have a
Right.
guy like that get praise from his teammates and have success this early in his career is good to see,
For sure. You know,
man.
this is it's what football season is all about, man. Gives us a ton to talk over the fire about. But
That's right.
um, as we talk about, getting to one of the biggest, or if not the biggest, sporting event um, in the world, dare I say, you also obviously got this $1 billion company we're building around here that's tied directly to one of these big sports. So League Swipe, right?
Yep.
And it's all things fantasy. There's an app to help commissioners run their leagues better, right? So let's talk a little bit about the rise in fantasy sports as we talk about, like, college football, and then now we're getting ready to, we about to get into the heat of the NBA, right? Which is what I like. That second half of the NBA season is like, that's when I really lock in, right? I feel like the players, they really tune in because now it's like, all right, it's go time for playoffs, and now we're trying to get to that NBA championship, and you see the competitive drive, and you get more, and the fans, at least I do, get more in tune with it, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about just the rise in fantasy sports itself, man. Like, what is the landscape? How are things going? What are some of the most popular fantasy sports um, games that you see people playing and getting involved in? Let's talk a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, fantasy sports is everywhere. I mean, every station has dedicated like content and programming related to fantasy sports. I've been playing fantasy sports for almost 30 years, man. Like before people even realized that it existed in the early days of Yahoo, and even before that, some of the manual stuff. I mean, it's been around for longer than that. And I talk to guys who've been playing for 40, 50 years, and they talk about doing it manually. So fantasy sports been around for a long time, man. But I think over the last 10 years or so, it really hit the mainstream when you had players talking about their participating in fantasy sports. Folks like Austin Eckler are huge fantasy sports players that are all on social media, looking for telling people to draft them because, they are just huge fans of the game. So I think, like you talked about, man, being super engaged in basketball in the second half. I think one of the beauties of fantasy sports is that it increases engagement for fans throughout the season. That's one of the reasons I played. I mean, I'm like, me and my friends, man, we played sports growing up, and when we couldn't play sports anymore, we try to find other ways to keep those competitive juices flowing. And fantasy sports is one of those ways, man, to create that competitiveness and camaraderie that you get from participating in sports and being part of a locker room. So because of that, it's grown tremendously over the years. I think season long fantasy sports has been around for a long time. There's been a lot of players that come in and try to sort of change the game and create more games to make it more interesting along the way. I think that's how daily fantasy became popular. It's been around for a while, but FanDuel and DraftKings came along and started talking about how people can become millionaires overnight. And I think that really highlighted to folks just how much money is moving in this space. I mean, I play in multiple leagues, all paid in leagues, and those pay-ins vary from a few dollars to a few $100s to a few $1,000s. So money has been moving in this space for a long time, and it hasn't slowed down. I mean, you're talking about over 70 million people playing in the U.S. Um, you know, Hundreds of millions or more are playing
70 million.
across yeah, man.
70
Play,
million. Wow.
yeah, man. 1 in 4 U.S. adults play fantasy sports. 1 in 4. So you sit around in a room,
Man.
a quarter of the audience is playing fantasy sports, and it used to be male dominated. Now you got you know men and women
Yeah,
across the
yeah.
globe playing fantasy sports. And some people think it's just football, man. It's fantasy every day. You
Everything.
talk about football, basketball, baseball, hockey, badminton,
Yeah, bass
bass
fishing.
bass fishing, bro, bass fishing. Um,
I might just get into that just to see
just to
how that
see,
all works. Like,
see,
what is
just to
going
see.
on? Like, how do you pick the person who's been catching the biggest bass? Like, how do you
Look,
even know?
look, I'm a fantasy sports player, but
Right.
I don't even do bass fishing, bro. I can't. I haven't gone that far. I haven't gone that far. But I'm gonna tell you a
Yeah.
sport that's like super popular across the globe, and that's cricket. Like fantasy cricket is huge, and
Cricket.
yeah,
Oh,
fantasy cricket is super huge. I mean, it's large internationally. Like you start talking about the numbers, like it
right.
puts baseball and basketball in the U.S. to shame across the globe, and we got a lot of interest. League Swipe has gotten a lot of interest from the cricket community to help them do what they do better. Our primary focus at League Swipe is to make the game more enjoyable for folks. The
Right.
gatekeepers of fantasy across the globe are the commissioners. They're the organizers of these leagues. They're the ones that get the 10 to 12 folks together consistently year in and year out to play in these leagues. And they try to keep it interesting, um, you know, and increase engagement throughout the year for folks. And League Swipe is the tool that they can use to make it more interesting, man. One of the ways to make the game more interesting is to increase the number of weekly payouts throughout the season. So you're talking about high score and other
Right.
prop bets and general bets. Lots of folks want to do that
Yeah,
for
yeah.
their fantasy leagues. They just don't want to do the administration. Like you don't want to have to go to your league and see who had the highest score and track it on in a spreadsheet, and then you can decide if you're going to do it real time, like execute those payments, or send those payments, send them the money real time, or wait to the end of the season. So it just becomes a administrative burden that people don't want to take on. So League Swipe is doing that for folks all across the globe, man. So we encourage folks hire League Swipe to do all the dirty work for you, and keep your leagues moving, keep that money moving, keep that engagement up, man. So um, I think season long fantasy is here to stay. Daily fantasy sports came and it serves a niche. It's like that quick hit
Yeah, yeah.
that people
Give me a
get.
little. So, really quick, because I've never played daily fantasy, right? I've only played
Okay.
the season long, weekly. I
Yep.
played, and to be honest, basketball gets a little crazy for me too, in terms of like fantasy and how you gotta,
Yeah. Yeah.
switch
Yeah.
players out and the injuries, and it's just like I couldn't keep up day to day. But so, how does daily fantasy like work? You know what I mean? Like, how does that? How does those swaps work? How does all of
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daily is like picking a new team every week, right? So a season long, you pick a team and you keep them for the duration of the 16, now 17 games of the regular season. Um, Daily fantasy, you can go in and select one team for the weekend and see how that team performs against other people across the country. Um,
When
the
you say one
backlash.
team, you mean there's a draft each weekend, or is it just like you
Yeah,
just
you
pay
go in
seat?
and so what you're given um, a salary cap, right? So you have a salary cap that you can use to draft players from each team, right? So you pick a quarterback, a couple wide receivers, running back, and all that good stuff, just like in season long fantasy. But you do this every week, and you can do multiple teams, right? You can have multiple daily fantasy sports teams competing in different contests each weekend. And then when the next weekend comes, you can pick a whole new team, right? So you're not locked into that team for the duration of the season. It's really just for that day, and you can do just for the day. You can do all Saturday games, you can do all Sunday games, or you can do the whole weekend. So it's really it's a quick hit. You get in, select the team, see how it does. You don't have to play the next week if you don't want to, or you can come back and pick a different team based on the matchups. You can pick a different team. The value of the players change week in and week out. If they're starting to perform better, then they cost more the following week. So there's definitely some gamemanship to it. There are a lot of people that provide information and content on how to build the best daily fantasy team. So it's cool. I participate in daily fantasy, but I'm really a season long fantasy sports player. In part is I just like the relationships. Each one of my fantasy, leagues represent sort of a phase in my life, a group of friends that I enjoy connecting with yearly. And as we've gotten older and our lives have gotten busier, these fantasy seasons are a reason for us to stay connected, man. And oftentimes the only time we get to connect and learn about what each other, um, you know, each one
Mm-hmm.
of us are doing, right? That's when we learn about what our kids are up to,
Right.
what sports our kids are playing, what colleges they're looking at going to, all that good stuff, man. So that's a big reason why I participate in fantasy sports, and it's a big reason why other folks participate in it. It's just the camaraderie, it's the long lasting friendships and relationships that fantasy sports continues to foster and keep alive, man.
Yep, absolutely. I absolutely agree, and it's another reason why I feel like it's important to go ahead and if you're listening, go ahead and download League Swipe because it gives you more opportunity to engage with your friends in that way, and it takes all the dirty work, as we say,
That's right.
out of out of your hands and automates it, right? So you won't regret it, right? It'll be the best thing you've downloaded, I'll say, this year, right? So go ahead and definitely get that. One thing I wanted to, as it pertains to fantasy sports, one of the things that I haven't really paid much attention to either, and wondering if you have any perspective on it in terms of fantasy. Um, are are you allowed to? Are there NCAA fantasy? So can you do um, like college basketball and college football fantasy games? Do they do that, or is it just mostly pro teams?
No, it's pro teams.
Yeah.
It's pro teams. There's
Okay.
different ways to participate in college. Of course, you March Madness and
Yeah. Yeah.
the college playoffs. So there's ways. You can do sports betting, but picking fantasy college teams
Isn't a thing.
isn't really a thing. Um, yeah, man. One of the things with fantasy, and I talked about it earlier, is that people are always trying to find new ways to sort of play fantasy, whether it's uh, you know, introducing a new sport like cricket to the fantasy sports community, or doing stuff like fantasy bachelor or fantasy bachelorette, where you're choosing who, you're picking your squad of bachelors, right? So
Right.
people are always trying to find, new ways to play fantasy. At League Swipe, we're like, look, we know this community, people love playing. Let's make it easier for them to do what they do. Like, we don't need to find a different way to play. Let's make it better, man. And
Yeah.
again, we're trying to make it better for the gatekeepers of fantasy, those commissioners who have the thankless job of collecting money and trying to collect money and transfer that money throughout the season. So we're just trying to make it better for the whole community, man, to play fantasy, regardless of what you're playing. If it's fantasy sports, fantasy bachelorette, if money is moving, League Swipe wants to make it happen easier, more secure, and add some fun to the process, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. So with the last 5 minutes, as we wrap up episode 3 of 30 minutes with Darius, um, founder and CEO of League Swipe, can you give us um, what's new with League Swipe? Like, what's going on new this week? What are you working on? Where are we at?
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
We're onboarding basketball leagues across the country, man. So we just opened up Yahoo Basketball to our community. So if you play Yahoo Basketball, you can download League Swipe and manage your leagues that way. You can start, sending out reports, letting people know who won, how much they won weekly. We're starting to allow people to initiate payouts. So if Terrell won $50, you hit a button and you can start the process of paying Terrell that $50 this week. And I know you would be excited to get that money the day after you won instead of waiting 17 weeks or whatever it
yeah,
is to get that
yeah.
money at the
Send
end
my
of the season.
bread. Send it
Yeah, you want that
ASAP.
bread immediately, ASAP. So that's right. That's right. So League Swipe is letting that happen. So we're excited about that, man. We're getting some real positive feedback. We got people who've only done end of year payouts because they don't want the hassle of trying to manage weekly payouts, convert to weekly payouts because League Swipe makes it easier. And that's what we wanted to see happen. We've gotten some real good feedback on how to make the experience a little bit easier for our users. And the other thing that folks are super excited about is managing prop bets, right? Through League Swipe, because you know what happens, man, when you in these leagues, like you have the winners and the losers. You got the structure for the league, like whoever finishes first gets money or whatever. But you and I be sitting at a bar and our teams are going head to head. You want to sweeten the pot and make extra, make a bet there or make a bet on, a particular game, right? And all that betting has happened offline and no one ever knows like sort of the history of that. How many times I beat Terrell head to head and how much I won based on that.
Hold
So
on,
we're
hold on, hold
releasing.
on. I need you to change that narrative. How many times you beat who? Like let's switch that narrative around. I
Come
don't
on,
know
man.
about
Come
like
on, man. I
let's
had to
not
put
get
it
it
out there. I had
let's
to put
not
it
get
out
it
there.
twisted, folks.
All right, all right, all right.
There's no running tally of how many times the founder and CEO of League Swipe has beaten Terrell. Okay, just let's be clear about
let's
that.
let's be.
People in their
We,
narratives, man. Let's bring it back.
we can start that tally this week. What you said? You said you got Philly, right? Nah.
Cut it
we
out.
can
You
start
don't
it.
want these
We can start.
problems. We can prop bet all
We,
day.
we can prop that all day. Nah, man. So that's new on the horizon. We're releasing that functionality where you can handle those prop bets, those side bets, and keep a running total. So you can know if you up or down, man, in those head to heads. So it's gonna be cool. It'll be real cool. Again, man, we're all about creating, adding some more fun to a game that people already play. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? So
absolutely. So we're at the end of our 30 minutes with Darius. What do you want the people to do at the end of this? At the end of this show, what what do you need
I
the
want you
people
to
to brother?
download and share, man. Hit us at the app. Go to the Apple Store. Go to the Google Play Store. Uh, League Swipe, LeagueSwYpe, League Swipe. Download the app. Take a look at it. Link your leagues, share it with your friends. Like I said, 1 in 4 adults play. So someone could benefit from League Swipe. Tell them about it today. Download it today. We need folks downloading it. Like we're in the early stages. We're trying to make this for you. So this is a real opportunity for you to download. Hit us at support at League Swipe with any questions, any feedback, any suggestions. Like we really can shape this. You can help shape this app, right, to serve you better. So it's not many opportunities you get in the to help shape an app and help with its creation. Like we are super in tune with making something that our customers can love and be a part of creating. So download it, man. Hit us at support at League Swipe with your suggestions and let's build this in the right way, like today.
Today. Absolutely. So with that, it's a wrap. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining.
See you guys next week. Enjoy.